first easy guitar chord we're going to learn is E minor. So you're holding the 2nd fret of the D string with the ring finger, the 3rd finger, and the 2nd fret of the A string with the middle finger, the 2nd finger. Start picking from the low E string down. E minor. For this chord you could also use your index and middle fingers or your pinky and ring fingers on the 2nd frets of the D and A strings like that. But to get into the next chord, we're going to use the ring finger and the middle finger like we learned. And now we're going to play E major. And all you got to do to play E major is put your index finger down on the 1st fret of the G string while you're holding your E minor chord. So now we have the 2nd frets of D, A, 1st fret of G. And the rest of the strings are played open. That's E major. Now we're going to play an A minor chord. And to play an A minor chord, you take your E major shape and you move every finger down one string. So now we're holding the 1st fret of the B string, 2nd fret of G, 2nd fret of D. Now we're starting from an open A string and playing down to the high E string. That's A minor. Next we're going to learn C major, and to play C major from A minor, all you got to do is take this ring finger here off of the 2nd fret of the G string and onto the 3rd fret of the A string. Now it's a C major chord. We're holding the 3rd fret of A, the 2nd fret of D, and the 1st fret of the B string there. Starting from the A string down, that's a C note there. The next easy guitar chord is D major. And for D major, we're holding the 2nd fret of the E string with the middle finger, the 2nd fret of the G with the index finger, and the 3rd fret of the B with this ring finger here. Starting from the D string down, D major. Now we're going to take a look at D7. Now D7 has the ring finger at the 2nd fret of the E string, the middle finger on the 2nd fret of G, and the index finger on the 1st fret of the B string. And we're starting from the D string down again. That's D7, D dominant 7. Now we're going to learn the A major chord. And we'll start off by using the pinky on the 2nd fret of the B string, the ring on the 2nd fret of G, and the middle on the 2nd fret of the D. And we're starting with an open A string, picking down to an open E string. That's A major. Now we could also use just the index finger flat on the 2nd frets of D, G, and B, but then we won't really be able to hear this high E string here, but we can still hear the first notes starting from the A string when we're using just our index finger. So those are the options there. And you could also use your index finger, your middle, and your ring finger. Now we're going to look at a B major chord, and this is going to be your first bar chord. And like we had an A major here using the pinky, ring, and middle fingers, if we move this forward 2 frets, now we're into the 4th frets of the B, G, and D strings, and then the index finger goes down on the 2nd fret of the A string here, which is now a B note. Now instead of using all 3 fingers like this, we can use just the ring finger if we wanted to, flattened out on the 4th frets of G, B, and D. so. And we probably won't be able to hear that high E string when we do this. That's an easier way to play B instead of using these three fingers. The simplest way to play a B chord is just using two notes, the second fret of the A string and the fourth fret of the D string. That would be a B power chord. You could add the third note in, the octave here. Or just stick with these two notes here, the B power chord. If you have a hard time holding down all these for B major. Now we're going to play a B7 chord. We do that by holding the second fret of the A string, the first fret of the D, the second fret of G, an open B string, and the second fret of the high E string with the pinky here. And there's that B7 chord. Next we're going to play G major. And to do that we're going to go to the third fret of the low E string, the second fret of the A string, and the third fret of the E string here. And we start from the low E string down. And that's the first version of G major there. Now we could also use our pinky on the third fret of the high E string, like so. And then there's another variation of G major where we can include the ring finger on the third fret of the B string. So you can either have an open B string or a third fret of the B string, a D note, which is also another note in the G major chord. Now we're going to learn G dominant 7, which sounds like this. And all we're doing there is holding the third fret of the E, second fret of the A, and the first fret of the high E string. All the other strings are played open. That's G dominant 7. And now our final chord is going to be F major. And first we'll start just by playing an easier version of it, which would be the first fret of your E string here, first fret of B, second fret of G, third fret of D. That's an F major chord. Now we're going to look at an easy way to play an F major bar chord. So we're going to start with an E major open chord, pinky at the second fret of D, ring at the second fret of A, middle on the first fret of G. That's our E major chord. Now we're going to move this shape one fret over and put our index finger down across the first frets here. So now the index finger is covering the E string, and then the B string and the high E string. If you're holding it down right, you won't hear any buzz noises when you play this. And another tip is to put the finger up a bit higher to get these strings down. If you're a bit lower down like this, it might be harder, but it's a bit easier even if your finger comes slightly above the fretboard like that. E major to F major. And of course this shape can be moved up to F sharp major and even G major. And there's your easy guitar chords.